Welcome back. Today, we will be discussing the sixth and final module of the Parent Training Series. Remember, the information in this Parent Training Series is solely for educational purposes and should not be considered medical advice. You should use independent judgment and request references when considering any resource associated with the diagnosis or treatment of autism or its associated medical conditions. As always, we're going to start by reviewing the last module, which was on strategies for increasing communication skills. Remember, there are a number of different types of communication problems, and based on your child's skill set, you will focus on different aspects of increasing communication. If your child is nonverbal or minimally vocal, then you would focus on teaching requests, as this is the first type of language that typically develops in humans. The steps to teaching a request are to 1. Identify items to teach. 2. Only attempt to teach when the child is motivated. 3. Prompt your child. 4. Reward all attempts to request. 5. Fade your prompts. 6. Correct errors. 7. Practice, practice, practice. If your child is moderately vocal, you would focus on shaping articulation so their speech is easily understandable by others. This is done through the use of word shells, which is simply breaking down words into simpler vocalizations. Finally, if your child is highly vocal, meaning that novel individuals can understand their speech, and they have the ability to communicate in sentences, then it would be appropriate to focus on teaching ways to communicate emotions and ways to promote social interactions, such as initiating play with peers. The present module will focus on how to teach your children additional skills through play. All children learn through play. This is how they interact with the world and acquire skills. For children with autism spectrum disorders, it may be necessary to support and encourage this learning. We will be discussing how you can do this throughout the module. It is important to note that play will look different depending on your child's individual abilities. Therefore, take the information provided in this module and think about how you can apply it to helping your child learn through play. If we seek to teach new skills while children are playing or interacting with toys at home, we must capture their interests. One way to do this is by taking advantage of times when they show interest in an object or activity. For instance, if your child is interested in trains, this is a good opportunity to use their motivation to practice some skills, such as requesting trains and train tracks, motor skills by building the track, vocal imitation by making train sounds, etc., etc. As a general rule, remember to play. Keep it fun and light. Finally, pay attention to your child and know when they've had enough of an object or activity. Sometimes, too much interaction can be overwhelming or aversive to children with ASD. If they appear to want to move on to a different activity, allow them to do so freely. Next, we'll discuss some strategies for encouraging learning through play. You can think of natural environment training, also referred to as NET, as playing with a purpose. Your child is already engaging in a particular activity, and you take advantage of their interest and motivation and insert learning opportunities by contriving ways for them to ask for things, label the items they are playing with, and so forth. To put it more simply, you follow your child's interests and embed learning into what they are playing with. Your child could be engaging with anything. It could be driving a car or playing with dolls. In this situation, you could take the car away every few seconds and have them practice asking for the car. Of course, in whatever form of communication that you selected to use in the previous module. If your child is already well versed in asking for the car, then you can focus on them telling you what they're doing with the car, such as, I am driving the blue car. Or stating sounds that the car makes. The car goes vroom vroom, and so on. If your child is playing on a swing set outside, you can work on improving vocalizations by pushing them only when they say the appropriate approximation, or work on shaping eye contact so that they are looking at you while they are asking to be pushed. NET can also be done while playing sports, such as kicking or throwing a ball. You can take any activity that your child is engaging with and turn it into a learning opportunity from which they will benefit. Let's go over the steps to how to teach skills through playing. The first step is to include yourself in the activity with your child. You can do this by grabbing another toy and playing alongside them. For instance, if they are playing with a car, you can grab another car and start driving with them, making car sounds, etc. If they are swinging at the park, you can swing next to them or go down the slide. If your child wants to play catch or kick a soccer ball around, kick or throw the ball with them. It is important to always be talking to your child while you are engaging in the activities to keep them engaged and excited to be playing with you. All of these interactions while playing with your child should be positive. Therefore, if your child is reacting in a negative way to your involvement in playing with them, then you may need to gradually fade yourself into their play. By this, I mean that if you notice your child always enjoys playing alone, but now you are going to play with them, and you may need to start by engaging and play with them for 1 minute at a time, and fade up into longer play segments. Remember, this experience of teaching your child through play should be very natural and fun for everyone. As previously stated, it is very important that you talk to your child while playing with them. Describe what they are doing, copy their actions, and follow their lead. Stay positive. If you are genuinely having fun and show enthusiasm, the interaction will be positive. Avoid asking too many questions. It is always tempting to say, "What are you doing?" But this may be perceived as an intrusive demand, particularly for children with limited communication skills. Instead of saying, "Where's the car going?" say things like, "I wonder where the car is going." These "I wonder" statements can serve the same function you are fishing for information, without the requirement of an answer implied when you state it as a question. There are moments, however, when asking a question may be perfectly reasonable. For instance, you could ask them to hand you a toy, or whether they want the red or blue car, etc. These questions should be minimally intrusive and should flow naturally during play. Remember, you are following their lead. Therefore, you must observe attentively for cues as to whether you are asking too many questions or disrupting their play. The hardest part of natural environment teaching is making sure you are capturing learning opportunities. You can start by setting a goal for yourself of inserting at least one learning opportunity every 5 minutes. This can be as simple as hiding a piece of a puzzle to encourage them to ask for it, or something like encouraging them to imitate a sound or action like choo-choo for a train or rolling a car down a ramp. We will now discuss how you can capture your child's attention and present learning opportunities with various play examples. If your child is playing with a doll, you can start walking the doll and asking your child what the doll is doing. Or, if your child is unable to tell you that the doll is walking, then you can talk to your child through the actions that you are performing with the doll and encourage them to imitate these actions. For instance, you can say, "The doll is walking. Can you show me the doll walking?" If your child is playing on the swing or slide at the playground, you could place yourself in their way so they have to ask you to move, or focus on getting them to ask you to push them appropriately. At first, you'll have to provide them with the behavior you want them to perform. For instance, you may say, "If you want me to push you," you can say, "Push me." Lastly, if your child wants to throw or kick a ball, you could use this opportunity for them to practice asking for the ball, label what they are doing, follow simple instructions, or imitate your motor movements. For instance, after you throw the ball at them, you can say, "Now you do it. Throw me the ball. Remember, we previously stated these interactions and teaching sessions do not need to be long or too involved. They are just ways that you can focus on teaching your child appropriate skills while they are engaging in activities that you already enjoy. This also gives a chance to provide attention and praise when they are playing appropriately. Remember, when we discussed providing positive statements throughout the day in a previous module? So once you decide what you are going to work on based off what your child is engaging with, you can determine ways to capture the moment and provide a teaching example, as we were just talking about a little bit in the previous slide. Say you want to focus on your child asking for the swing appropriately. By capturing their motivation and interest, you can block access to the swing until they ask you appropriately with a previously established response. Or if your child is playing with a doll and you want them to tell you what you are doing with the doll, do not allow them to play with the doll until they tell you what you are doing with the doll. Further, if you are trying to get a vocal response from your child, provide up to 3 opportunities and then move on. It is not natural for you to sit there and continue working on the same thing if they are not appropriately responding. If this is the case, then you can focus on capturing another learning opportunity while playing with the same activity. Remember, the key to teaching this way is to follow along with what they are enjoying. Therefore, if you are constantly placing demands and asking questions, it will not be natural, and your child will probably not enjoy playing with that activity or you. Because this will be new for both of you, keep these teaching sessions during play short at first. Build it up from small, simple skills to more difficult ones. This will help minimize your child wanting to avoid playing with you and potential problem behavior during these interactions. This leads me to my next point, which is if your child begins engaging in problem behavior during these teaching sessions, then it is very important for you to ignore the problem behavior and prompt them to emit an appropriate response. As discussed in previous modules, make sure that you do not allow access to what they want if they are engaging in problem behavior. Your child needs to be calm and ask appropriately before they are granted access to that item. Now, for a couple active parent responding questions about natural environment teaching.